Suddenly on 15th of July, early morning, firing started. And, generally again, I joke around that when they couldn't find the bullet on which DP Singh was written, they threw a to whomsoever type of a weapon. So the first bomb lands quite a far behind me, but the second bomb got corrected by the enemy and it lands just next to me, meter and a half away.
Hey listeners, welcome back. This is the Independence Day special and I have with me a very, very special guest. Each time I read or watch about my guest, I get goosebumps. A story of grit, endurance and fearlessness. It's a real honor and pleasure to have Major DP Singh with me today. Major, thank you so much for the gift of your time to me and to my listeners.
Thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast, brother. God bless you and Jai Hind to all the audience, all the listeners.
So the way we would want to have our conversation is I will ask Major DP Singh some important dates in his lifetime that has so much of relevance, so much of message to all of us out here. So without much further ado, we'll get started. And Major will first start off with 13th September. When you hear 13th September, what does it tell you?
So 13th September, the first reaction is it's a fictitious date. Why I say fictitious date? Because this date is before I took birth. My birth, the real birth, biological birth date is 13th of January 1974. However, in those days, this was a normal trend in the household that if a kid is supposed to get admitted in a school and because of the date of birth, there is some issue. So you manipulate the date according to the requirement of the school. So my father had preponed my birth on papers and made it 13th of September 1973. So that's what my, on record birthday is 13th of September 1973. But biological birthday is 13th of January 1974.
So in many ways, you got a promotion even before your birth.
Yeah, or maybe on, I just joke around that my father was in too much of a hurry to not to keep me at home and he kicked me out by preponing my birthday.
So what comes to your mind, Major, your early childhood, the challenges, the fun that you had during your early childhood?
As I mentioned, of course, jokingly, that father wanted to send me out to the school. So he preponed the birthday. But as a luck would have, he also dispatched me to my grandparents. In the second standard itself, I was away, from second standard onward, I was not with my parents. I was supposed to be living with my grandparents at a place called Roorkee. That's where I had spent all through my childhood. The schooling I did in Kendriya Vidyalaya Roorkee. And that is the only institution, education institution formally I have attended. Because after that, the graduation I did privately, not going regular to the college. But during childhood, the kid who was in need of the pampering of parents was devoid of that. And it was more of a loneliness and aloofness which overpowered my initial years of childhood. I used to, of course, miss my parents, and over that, the disciplinarian type of lifestyle of my grandparents, where everything was rationed, everything used to be, in a perfect manner, time to sleep, time to wake up. Of course, in the hindsight, when I look back, that is the discipline which made me what I am today. But from a kid's perspective, that was a little tough part. And that's what the parenting is. So they did the actual parenting. But for the kid, as I mentioned, it was more of a tough side because where the parenting was happening rightly, the compassion and the comfort and pampering was missed out, which could have been given by a mother or a father. So that pressure invariably at times used to override me. And because of that pressure, once I took a step which was a U turn, the first U turn of my life. What was that step? I'll just tell you that. But before that, I must tell you that whenever we used to go to my maternal grandparents' place, which was my mother's parents, during school holidays, my parents used to take me there. I used to find a lot of liberties, freedom, you know, do whatever you feel like doing, eat whatever you feel like eating, and such stuff. So it was a big contrast between what actually my life was and what I used to get during those holidays. So that contrast attracted me, that freedom, that liberty, that openness attracted me more, uh, and that's where that step which I took came. I thought of running away from my home to my maternal grandparents' place. It was eighth standard, and as a kid of eighth standard, only thing I knew was that we used to sit in bus early in the morning, and by the time evening comes, we used to reach my maternal grandparents' place. So, and this is the direction on which the bus goes. So, finding only the direction and having the general idea of this much time the bus takes, a kid walks out of the house and starts walking, thinking that if, of course, I am walking and not taking the best bus, so if not one day, at least 3 4 days I may take, but I will reach if I start walking in this direction, right? But as the luck would have, I was able to just cross over the boundary of my city, which was around 5 6 kilometers, when someone known to us, a wise man, saw me. This man was from a very humble background, but then very wise in my opinion. He saw me, he asked me, "Where are you going?" And without asking much questions, he just asked me to sit on the bicycle, turn towards my home, and that was the U turn of my life. Because once he turned towards the home, my mind started working that what I was doing, was it correct? I might have reached, but had it not been possible, I could have been one of the cleaners on truck, or maybe working on some or stuff like that, maybe a child labor, or got caught somewhere. All these nonsense ideas, reality of the life came to my mind, and I was like, that was perhaps the wrong step. And that's when I decided that one need to face the reality of life wherever, whichever situation you are in. There is no escapism from that. And by staying into the same situation, circumstances, reality, one have to put in the best foot forward to work out by doing karma. So nowadays, like, we are marred by the reality of impact of COVID. Lots of us have seen the miseries of going to hospital, facing treatment, losing our loved ones. But then this is the reality. One cannot change the reality. One need to accept reality for making peace with oneself. So that's the first step. But do you sit there by accepting the losses? No, you cannot sit, because that's where the human nature comes. You have to put in your best foot forward now to progress further with whatever constraints you are living in right now. This is something in a very vague manner came to my mind during that U-turn, and I promised myself that I will stay here only under whatever non so ideal circumstances as per the kids' perspective. But I'll make sure that I'll prove my worth by putting in my best of efforts and reach some destination in my life.
Wow, that's a wonderful start act. I think in lot many sense, the seeds of it was sown there of discipline, of making a decision that makes an impact. So
Absolutely.
moving along, so if that was your childhood lessons and childhood experience, 6 December 1997.
Well, that's quite a jump because 6th December is the day when I fulfilled my dream of wearing the olive green, getting commissioned into Indian Armed Forces, the Army, the best of organization which I believe in, which makes really men out of boys. But this dream started in those days itself after I took the first U turn.
Mhm.
Because after that U turn, I got connected through my grandparents only to my religion, Gurdwara Sahib. And I started going regularly to listen to the stories of valor, history of Sikhism, and sermons and other things which in Gurdwara Sahib happens. And I came to know about the powerful history I belong to of selflessness, sacrifice towards others, and duty above self, and all such bravados of and sacrifices of our gurus, where they have devoted the whole life and the full family, sacrificed the full family for the sake of weak, downtrodden, and others unknown to them, without shedding even a single tear. And because it was connected with my history, I was studying in Kendriya Vidyalaya Roorkee, which was managed by the Indian Army of Roorkee, with the Bengal engineer groups, which is stationed in Roorkee. I used to find a lot of attraction towards the armed forces, and slowly and gradually I realized that my history is something which is being lived in reality in present by the armed forces. Because armed forces is nothing but the same what I have read in my history of Sikhism. They also selflessly serve the country, serve people unknown to them. Country comes first, then comes your team, and in the end comes your own ease and comfort is the motto which armed forces follows. So I realized that this is the present of my past. And if I get connected to this present, then I'll be able to live a life which my ancestors have lived. And that was the seed of getting attracted toward the armed forces and the dream of wearing olive green and stars on my shoulder. Of course, the journey was long, the journey was tough. After failing number of times, 6th of December was the time date when 6th of December 1997 from Indian Military Academy, I finally got commissioned into 7th Battalion of the Dogra Regiment.
So walk us through, what does it mean like being a commissioned officer? What was the feeling like?
Well, to be very frank, there was a vacuum. Vacuum because now what? This was a long standing dream which is fulfilled.
Right.
And I did not plan anything ahead of that. I was not looking anything ahead of that. And now the first step of fulfilling the desire since childhood, the dream of childhood is over. What next? So it took me some time to come out of the exuberance and happiness and settling into the reality that now there is a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. Now, this responsibility of leading the men from the front, the responsibility of acting by your action, setting the examples by your deeds, and commitment, devotion, and all such stuff which has been inbuilt in the training of the armed forces. Then, after some time, for 1 year, of course, it is only the professional courses like young officers course and the commando training course and some amount of annual leave. After that, when the reality sunk in me, I planned that okay, now for next 10 years, let's plan. And that planning was to go to the infiltration area, the terrorist affected area, Siachen, and National Security Guard, the Black Hat Commandos. So divided into 2 years of service there. 10 years got completed. The plan of 10 years was set in front of me. However, as the luck would have, all the plans got shattered in just 1.5 years. The first year was in my professional courses, and the second year had started when Operation Vijay started.
Yes.
Operation Vijay, which is known as Kargil War. And after doing my commando training in the month of March 1999, when I joined unit, my unit was already on deployed on line of control. And just for about 2 3 months, I was able to live in a little better, peaceful atmosphere, because in the end of May, Operation Vijay was launched, and on 15th of July, very soon, I came under enemy firing and I got injured. So the dream of 10 years, the planning of 10 years got shattered in matter of seconds. And I was again back to square one, what next? But then
Right.
that's what the life is.
So from having no plan of what to do once you were a commissioned officer to having large plans of how you would want to kind of give back to the country, which you did ultimately. But what was going on in your mind when 15th July 1999 happened? I think for the benefit of our listeners, if you can walk us through what happened on 15th July, and I'm sure you would say that that was another U-turn in your life.
Oh, yes, of course, because 15th of July is the day when I came under enemy attack. 2 days prior to that, the post which I was manning with my team was, of course, engaged in regular firing and attacks from each other. Came to a time when suddenly the firing had stopped. For initial 24 hours or the first day of non firing, when there was no firing, I was also a bit happy that there is some amount of relaxed atmosphere has been, my boys have found some time to relax. But when the lull actually elongated, I dreaded, because I felt that there might be some storm after this lull.
Mhm.
And it elongated to 48 hours. And as the luck would have, perhaps in these 48 hours, by downplaying the firing, they were doing the recce of the post on which I was located to pinpoint me. Because of the notorious and nonsense acts I used to, trouble the enemy, they were might be, taking me like, PIA, pain in ass type of a man.
So you are
So,
their target.
yeah, so they wrecked the area and they planned in those 48 hours.
Mhm.
And suddenly on 15th of July, early morning, firing started. And, generally again, I joke around that when they couldn't find the bullet on which DP Singh was written, they threw a to whomsoever type of a weapon.
Mhm.
It's a projectile mortar bomb which comes in the form of a parabolic trajectory.
Mhm.
And wherever it lands, there is a killing area of that particular mortar bomb, 52 which is 8 meter from the point of impact. 8 meter dia is the killing zone. So the first bomb lands quite a far behind me, but the second bomb got corrected by the enemy and it lands just next to me, meter and a half away. And the explosion, I came under the impact of explosion, profusely bleeding. A lot of shrapnels cut me through. A lot of shrapnels are still stuffed inside my body. And I was like a fountain of blood, bleeding from all the holes, lying there unconscious. Within fraction of seconds, I was unconscious. And it was sheer grit and determination and courage of my team. I always take a pause and bow, convey my gratitude to the team who, showing the valor and the courage in those difficult times, evacuated me selflessly, again serving for the sake of saving one life. This is the reason I joined army. Selfless service for the sake of others. And that is what is happening with me. Selflessly, they devoted their life and evacuated me to the safer zone where ambulance was parked to take me to the nearest hospital, which was 2.5 hours away. Doctor, during the ambulance journey, tried his best Captain Joshi tried his best to keep me alive and keep me in senses by asking me all sort of nonsense and irrelevant questions. But then, after getting some sort of irritation that why the hell is he asking me these type of nonsense questions, and I calmed off. I could not stay. I could not stay in senses so long. So this was the reason, and along with it, I suffered a cardiac arrest. So heavy blood loss, unconsciousness, and cardiac arrest en route became the reason that doctor, the surgeon who received me in the hospital, initially declared me dead on arrival, and take this body to the mortuary. But then again, as the luck would have, Colonel Rajinder Singh, again with the never say die spirit, barges in, intervenes, and refused to give up, and he revived me. So it is courtesy my team who evacuated me and Dr. Colonel Rajinder Singh that today I am able to interact with you. And yes, of course, that was a U-turn of my life, the second U-turn of my life. And if I connect back today, from the point of the first U-turn, the self-learning or the so-called wisdom which I could attain out of the blessings of Almighty, I was able to sustain and face the second U-turn with pride in myself as if nothing has happened. Because the same thing I was able to follow here also, that accept the reality and make best of what you have now. So the reality was I was shattered. I was 100% disabled. On third day, gangrene set in my right leg, and they had to ampute it. And there are multiple injuries all over my body. There are multiple shrapnels which are still embedded inside me. Injuries to the tune that you name a body part and I'll tell you what injury is there. So that's the type of impact was. But then that was the reality. There was no point crying, blaming, sulking, putting responsibility on somebody else's head that this is what has happened to me because of you, because of bad deed, because of karma. Why God and why not God is nonsense to speak and nonsense to ask. If this is the reality, that means this is the reality. One need to accept it. And as luck would have, my background and life journey of childhood till that time gave me the sense, the wisdom, the courage to accept this also, the second U turn, and live the life beautifully with something to explore more now. There must be some reason behind this action, and that reason was supposed to be explored by embracing the life as it comes your way and making best of what you have in you with you. That's what I did.
That's a very powerful state of mind. Having gone through what you have gone through, I still have goosebumps listening to your story. But to have that kind of frame of mind, how do you even get it to always stay in that positive frame of mind and say that if this is were to happen, accept the reality and start making changes around that reality? How did you develop this kind of a mindset, Major?
Well, for developing that type of mindset, you need to have the type of a lifestyle which I lived throughout my childhood. And that's not possible for everybody. I am one of the luckiest person on this earth who's being blessed since childhood onwards by giving me tidbit of small different type of challenges depending upon my age and depending upon my conditioning of mind and body. However, spirituality supported me all through. It is the spirituality, it is this power of surrendering to the wish of Almighty which gave me peace always. So the first step is always acceptance. Till the time you are in not agreeing to your own shortcomings, your own reality, you will be in some amount of negative pain. That's for sure. So acceptance, how does the acceptance comes? Acceptance comes by surrendering yourself. When you surrender yourself to some superpower wish, then automatically it becomes easy for you to accept. Okay, that's your wish. I agree to it. Just give me the courage to face this new me, face this new reality of mine, face this new understanding that yes, there are shortcomings, yes, there are challenges, yes, there are problems, but give me the courage so that I, who has been chosen by you, live up to your expectations. So that's the type of spirituality one need to understand, and I could build it over the years. But let me also add here, that does not mean I am fully positive. That does not mean I don't get negative idea. That does not mean I don't get angry. That does not mean I don't get irritation. That does not mean I don't feel bad. That does not mean I don't cry. So-called men don't cry. There is no such thing. I do everything. Everything is a reality with me because that is what the nature is. If there is day, there has to be night. If there is summer, there has to be winter. If night is setting in, so the sun has to come out. It is the natural process. So these emotions which are given to us must be given for some reason. So if you say that somebody is totally positive, he doesn't get angry, he doesn't feel sad, he doesn't feel irritated, or he doesn't feel pensive, there is no pensive mood, or he doesn't cry, or he doesn't feel like blaming or doing something like that, that is not possible. And it's a good sign, because if it is there with you, that means you are flowing with the nature. So somebody who says that I am totally positive, either he's lying or he's sick. Because not having these emotions in you may tantamount to having some sort of a psychological trouble with you. You might be a stone. You might be an unemotive person. So feel good that if you have these emotions, there's nothing wrong in it. But at the same time, as a human being, we understand that these are the negative sides of the emotions, and negative emotions does not help us. So go there, feel it, cry out, feel bad, but don't stay there. Come out. Now, by the practice is to not to stay there and replace the negative emotion with some positive feeling. That is the trick one has to learn. One stay stuck in the negative emotion till the time you force to throw out yourself, to push yourself out of that negative emotions. For example, if you are feeling sad and you are saying that don't feel sad, don't feel sad, don't feel sad, what exactly are you doing? You are repeating the negative emotion in your mind.
True.
You are getting into the loop. You will never be come out of that sadness. Rather, if you're feeling sad, so the positive emotion to that is feeling happy. So you should feel, whenever you are sad, remind yourself that you are a happy and contented person. You are calm, you're peaceful. So when you replace these thoughts with the positive thoughts, and now this is practice, then slowly and slowly you understand that as and when you are stepping inside the negative side of your emotions, you can very well maneuver yourself to get yourself to the positive side. This comes with the practice. So spirituality helps you to accept, and this practice lets you empower and strengthen up the positive side better than the negative side.
Very nice. So basically what you're saying is for people who are at the low points of their life is to kind of go from a negative self-talk to a positive self-talk.
Exactly. It is okay to be in the low points. It's human. You are totally okay, acceptable person. There is nothing wrong. I cry out. At times when I'm in sad mood and I feel like crying, I cry. I don't feel bad about it. Let the whole world feel or say anything to me. It doesn't make any difference to me. If I need to vent out my emotions and I feel like crying, I cry, and then steps out of that towards some positive side and get cracking again. Start working again.
So even to date, this is the routine that you follow.
Of course, as long as I am a human being living on this earth, one has to have acceptance of both sides of emotions, negative and positive. As I mentioned, if somebody is saying that he is totally positive all through the time, either he is lying or he is sick. Not possible.
Okay.
But having control of your emotions and maneuvering as per your desire is something, the power which has been given to a human being. One should exercise, and that exercise comes with the practice. And practice, I already mentioned, replace the thought with some positive thought.
Wonderful. And this life changing event happened to you in July 99, and you didn't keep quiet from there. It only made you to become more and more active. You replaced, like you said, the negativity that was going through with lot of positive things that you have done, be it running half marathons, turning out to be a marathoner, turning out to doing cycling, playing golf, playing squash. I think one can't imagine what all the things that you have done. And it kind of, I wouldn't say culminate, but led into another landmark, which was 28th March 2019. You was the first Blade Runner to do the first skydiving event.
Well, you know, this mantra of mine, which I deciphered now, acceptance of reality and making best of whichever condition you are in, whatever constraints and limitation you might have, putting your best foot forward. These two steps have always helped me to keep progressing in life. The first step has given me peace of mind, and the second step of putting your best foot forward has helped me to keep progressing in life, because I don't want to be a saint. Neither none of us want to be a saint. You know, we are human beings. We are living in the on this earth for some purpose. So only accepting and getting into tranquility might be something like going to jungle and doing tapasya. That's not something you I wish to, and that's not something which my background, my religion also taught me. There is no bravado in running away from the escaping from your duties and responsibilities. The bravado is, the courage is staying calm in reality under the challenges and putting your best foot forward. So there comes the second step, putting your best foot forward. There will never be an ideal situation. There will never be the wishful desired thing which you want available to you all the time. It will never be so.
Mm.
One has to live and accept in the make your way in the constraintful atmosphere only. So in particular my case, I feel that I am a chosen one. I am the blessed person on this mother earth, maybe the most blessed person, because my life was given the purpose to do something like this since my childhood days itself. Maybe that is the reason I was being prepared for these bigger goals and challenges and difficulties and whatever you name it. So I just flew, adapted along the way as the life keep coming my way. So my dream and desire of wearing uniform got shattered in just 1.5 years. What next? Do I cease to exist, or do I commit suicide, or do I embrace the new life now? So when I now look back, even that dream of mine was only a stepping stone to make me reach to this, what I am doing now, or what I could do after getting injured. So maybe this is the reason why I cherish beautifully. The most beautiful time or moment or day of my life is not 13th of January, but 15th of July 99. And I got injured, because that injury gave me a new life, a new lease. And I don't know whether you are aware or not, but I do a cake cutting ceremony on every 15th of July, on which I write happy death anniversary and rebirth day. So what I am able to live after the second U-turn of my life, 15th of July onwards, is something which I dedicate as a higher purpose, decided by somebody, supreme power sitting up somewhere or not, but something more powerful than us. And I'm just living that. I'm just following these steps, and it is happening. It is happening. Time and again, it is happening. Not sure if something is going to happen in the time to come also or not, but I am trying to make best usage of whatever I have. And in the process, the results are coming out in the form of records, in the form of, various achievements, various awards and stuff like that.
So by doing all of these things, is there a message that you're conveying to the broader world, saying that, look, limitations do happen, your dreams can get shattered, but that is like you said, that's something that you reflect on it and go to the next higher purpose. So what's the message that you're conveying to the community out there?
Well, I am only trying to live life beautifully. In the process, if there is a message which is getting conveyed, is that life is beautiful.
Right.
Challenges only makes you something more powerful, courageous, and better person in life. Challenges are most of the time looked down upon by people as difficulties and not so good in their life. However, the reality is lucky are the ones who gets into a challenging situation because they are the chosen one for something much better in lifetime to come. So if you change this perspective and start looking at your so-called difficulties, challenges from a perspective of that you are a chosen one, if it has come your way, it has come to make you stronger, a better human being. So you should grow above the challenges, and in the process, you will achieve those unlimited things which perhaps you might not have felt or imagined in your life
Wonderful.
if you change that perspective.
So on that major, we talked about challenges and how one can look at it and develop perspectives. Talk us through the challenging ones.
So you see, first half marathon I ran on 3rd of November 2009. And then that was with a prosthesis which is used only for walking purpose. I had know-how, knowledge, understanding that how do any person like me, a disabled and amputee. And let me also tell you here, my amputation is also not a normal amputation. It's not neither below the knee amputation, it is neither above the knee amputation. It is knee disarticulation, for which making a prosthesis is a very, very tough task across the world for anybody. Over that, it makes more tougher because there are 23 shrapnels only inside my amputated stump. So the injury marks creates more challenge for somebody who makes a prosthesis for me. But as the luck would have, I was supposed to carry out something, a task which would convey hope to many people. That's the reason why these additional challenges were also added to my life. And I'm thankful and lucky, convey my gratitude to Almighty that He did so. So after running 3 half marathons with a prosthesis for which is not supposed to be used for running purpose, when successfully I did that, the fourth one I ran on blade, which was in 2011. And that was by virtue of my alma mater, Indian Army, who imported the first ever blade in country in India for a veteran like me who was doing something extraordinary. Mark my words, I was a veteran already. I was not a serving person. This is the type of organization I belong to. And that prosthesis, the blade prosthesis, costs around 8 lakhs. It is not a small money, small number. But then when I ran fourth half marathon on blade, irrespective of the fact that I got injured after running on blade, one thing was very clear in my mind that it's not a fluke happening. If this is the fourth run I could successfully complete, that means it is possible for anybody, for any amputee like me. So it's high time now I pass on this perspective of living life the way you want, the way it should be lived to other amputees of the country. And I started that group, the challenging ones. It started in the form of a Facebook group, and then I converted it into an NGO. Today, we have around 2,600 amputees connected across India, and majority of them have accepted this fact that they are not challenged. They are the chosen ones. They are the challenging ones. They can give challenge to others, and they are the chosen ones because somebody, again, the almighty supernatural power or whatever you name it, have chosen them out of millions others, picked them up by hand and removed a body part to convey a fact that limitations is not set up by having a body part or not having a body part. Limitations are always set up by mind. So if you feel that you can do it, nobody can stop you. And of course, if you feel you can't do it, then also nobody can stop you.
So true. So that's really wonderful. I will leave the details of the challenging ones in the show notes for all the listeners out there. If you want to make your contribution to this noble cause, you have the links in the show notes. Moving on, Major, we heard your stories. We heard about the U-turns, your perspectives of life, and what you are doing to the community back through your own actions and to the challenging ones community. One question that is on my mind is, what does Major DP Singh do for fun?
I sleep. You see, actually, it is a reality, because of the type of life which I lived throughout, the various type of chaoticness which I have seen in my life. Whenever I used to get some time for myself, I used to just enjoy either listening music or sleeping. And at times I do write also. Whenever the emotion comes out of me on its own, then I put it into pen and paper and I write some poetry. These are the ways, which I feel a little light. I feel good.
If Major DP Singh were to have a signboard with a message or a question or a quote on it, what would that signboard or billboard have?
Well, I think the most powerful quote, which I also feel good about myself, I could think till today, is the one: if you feel like giving up, give up giving up. That's the only option you have.
I want to kind of quote a quote that you have used in one of your speeches and get your insights on that, which is, if the intentions are pure, the doors will open.
Exactly. You see, I'll use this question of yours to explain a bit of my understanding about karma, the karma theory. Karma, in my opinion, is not something which you are doing, which is visible to the others, that this is the action done by somebody. Karma is much more powerful. Karma is the intent behind that action of yours. That action might not be very good, but if your intent is pure, then your karma is good. So if your action is only to do some act and put it on social media, then that's not a karma which is going to give you much. Karma is that intent with which you do an action of not expecting anything out of that action. So if that intent of yours is pure intent and you are doing it out of your pure emotion of doing some service and just forgetting it, then automatically the power of nature comes your way and helps and supports you to open doors and wonders happen.
Major, you have been an inspiration to all of us just by virtue of what you have done, what you have accomplished, just by your actions. And this show is all about inspire, because we are going to inspire someone today. What's your inspire someone today message to all the listeners out there?
So I will repeat for the sake of repetition that any challenge coming your way means that you are a chosen one, because the moment you will grow internally yourself stronger and rise above that challenge, it's your success, it's your growth. So feel good and convey your gratitude towards the challenging situation that they chose you, because finally it's your progress, your benefit. God bless.
Well, that was Major DP Singh, a war veteran and India's first Blade Runner who poured his heart out. If you loved this episode and want someone to benefit from this, please do share them. And if you wish to express your gratitude to Major DP Singh and his foundation, you can make a contribution by clicking on the link tcothetrust.com. That is tcothetrust.com. Thank you for your time and hope you enjoyed this episode of The Blade Runner.
Thank you for listening into today's edition of Inspire Someone Today. It's been a privilege to bring in these conversations. If you like this episode and have any feedback or comments, do mail me at inspiresomeonetodaypodcast@gmail.com. Inspiring someone is like creating ripples around us. If you like what you listen, feel free to share them and let's create ripples of inspiration. Do not forget to follow me on my Instagram handle @InspireSomeoneTodayPodcast for all the latest updates. This is Srikanth, your host, signing off, and until next time, keep inspiring.